were looking at the altered state of trance even back then. They were playing with the energy. I just didn't realise it. Another game I used to play with my sisters was I used to put my hand above their arm or say to this, I don't know who I was speaking to, but I used to say to this energy to heat up. And then what happened is when energy would come through my hands and we'd start to heat up their arms. I could actually move the energy when I was a boy. I do remember doing this constantly. I would move the energy up and down like my sister's arms, and then I would ask the energy to become cold, and then the energy would start to go cold, and then we'd ask it to heat back up again, you see. So that was experiences, but that was probably, you know, the experiences that I had of experimenting with the spirit world. I just didn't know what it was, and I suppose I just did other things that other young children did.
And no one else in your family had this ability that you know of, or did they?
No, nobody else had it. I mean, I do believe my grandfather, you know, was a very, spiritual person, and I do believe he was quite mediumistic. You know, I do think it comes from my grandfather's side. But he'd often tell me about stories about ghosts and things that he had seen when he was, a young man himself and all through his life. And I just thought it was just stories coming from my grandfather. It wasn't until my grandfather.
What did he say? Can you remember some of the things he told you?
Well, he would tell me about, certain things would take place when they belonged to the Shetland Isles, which is up the very, very top of Scotland. But he'd tell me when they were younger that they wanted information, they would go and see, the local healer, or they needed help, obviously, with, medical not be a healer, or they would go and see the local seer. And they would tell you different things about, about the milk turning and all these kind of things, and different things, and little sort of folklore, and all these kind of things, with little strange things that lived in the hills, and all these kind of things. And they used to fascinate me when I was a young man. It was just that was my grandfather telling stories, but it wasn't until, I suppose my grandfather, was the spirit side of life, and then obviously I looked more into this mediumistic side, obviously with the spirit world coming forward. And I probably realised, that my grandfather had a lot more involvement within that than I ever knew.
Okay, so that's really interesting about your grandfather. Did he ever say that he saw anything in the home, in his home actually? Anything?
To be very truthfully, he used to be on the custodian of a place called Edgecombe Island here, which has an old monastery within it. And I remember him telling us that he's seen a young girl that was hiding underneath the steps within the monastery one evening. And then obviously he went to try and get the young girl to come out of the steps. And of course he was speaking to her for quite a few minutes. And then of course when he eventually went forward to try and take the girl, she disappeared in front of him. So I think my grandfather did see lots of ghosts, as what lots of people would make reference to, or ghosts from spirit side of life. But yeah, he did see lots of different little things.
What about you? I mean, have you ever been out somewhere and, out somewhere and you just saw something and you like, wait a minute, that person's not alive or something like that?
I've seen lots of that, to be honest with you. Even when I was, as I was a younger man, I remember, we lived in a home where, I slept in the bed with two of my sisters. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night and I used to watch people walk down the hall and head towards the toilet area. And then I remember becoming very fearful of it.
Wait, you mean in her home? Inside her home?
In my home.
Inside
my mother and father's home.
Wow. I mean, they look solid. They look totally real.
Solid. I mean, they were real people to me. They were walking down the hall.
Clear the air with Kia.
I wanted to go electric, but I also wanted something built here, not shipped in. That's how I found the EV6, built in the state of Georgia and packed with more United States and Canadian parts than any other car sold here, whether an EV or not. Sleek design, over 300 miles of range, and yeah, the EV6, it's a Kia. Same goes for the EV9, big, bold, 3 rows, all electric, and assembled in the U.S.
If you're looking for American-built and electric, you don't have to choose. Just start with Kia. Movement that inspires.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Whether you love true crime or comedy, celebrity interviews or news, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue. And guess what? Now you can call them on your auto insurance too, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. Get your quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hey, things are getting me on such short notice. This place isn't booked, is it?
Wait, Jamie, what's going on?
It's just, you're my only lawyer friend, and I need your professional opinion. You see that brand new Hyundai Tucson up there?
Yeah.
That's all I paid for it.
I think I need to get back to you on that.
Do you know what you want?
Yeah, I do now. Feels so right, it almost feels wrong. Get the car or SUV you've always wanted, plus America's best warranty, and the Hyundai Getaway salesman. The guilt is real, and so is the savings.
Listen, I don't want to get in your business, but if that's all she paid for it, I'll have what she said.
It's a great day for a new Hyundai. Hyundai Getaway sales event going on now. Get 0% APR for 60 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days on all Hyundai Palisade, Santa Fe, and Santa Fe hybrid models. And check out our other great deals at your Hyundai dealer today. Offer ends September 2nd. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
I remember even one evening I was quite fearful into the taxi, you know, obviously a fare, and then they would bring spirit people with them. So
Really?
you would actually see people, yeah, and some days to be very goofy. I'd even be driving, and I would sometimes, and it had been known, see someone put their hand out, obviously to flag taxi, and pull in, and realise it wasn't actually anybody, it was a ghost or somebody, it was just a memory or something, but there's nobody there. So I did see lots of things like this, yeah.
Okay, so when people would get a taxi and you take them, also a spirit would it look solid to you? I keep asking you that, but it looked like a second person was in
Yeah,
there with them.
I have no control over it. But sometimes people would get in, they look quite solid to me. And other things you get in, you know it was a spirit person. Sometimes you would feel the energy, or sometimes people would just get in, and then you would hear. You know, this is obviously when my development was starting to come forward, you know, in my journey. But I would hear, obviously people saying to me even then, you know, tell them I'm here, but you can't do that. You're going to put the fear of God to people, you know. But I would see lots and lots of different things. I would see, you know, I'd see shadows at the corner of my eye. I'd become aware of things. I used to come in early morning after working on a night shift, and always see a little boy standing at the top of my stairs, which I thought was my own boy, about the same age, but it wasn't. It turned out as one of my guides.
But it was a child?
Oh, it was a child.
Oh, wow.
I did, yeah. It was a child. I mean, about 7 or 8 year old, 6, 7, 8, somewhere around about that age. He'd stand at the top of my stairs quite regularly when I would come in, and then of course when I would see him, he would disappear, you know. And I would go up and think it was my own boy, obviously check my own boy in the room, and he'd be sound asleep. But it was a little spirit boy called Chuckles. His real name was Charlie.
What he look like?
He's a little boy. He's a little. He used to wear shorts, believe it or not. He wears a little, like a baker's cap sometimes when he comes. But he's just a lovely little cheeky little fellow. You know, he's full of energy, full of mischief. You know, but he wears shorts, little boots, all that kind of thing. Yeah, indeed. Strange, honestly.
Yeah.
Lovely job.
I have more questions about this little spirit here, but let me go back to seeing the spirits. I forgot to ask you that. The spirits that you saw walking down the hallway, did they look like they were from your time, or?
I was young at the time. I suppose so they didn't. You know, they looked from different time periods. You know.
Wow.
I mean, I think that those are people who go to spirit side of life. You know, very often whatever time period they're from, they would kind of reflect and go on that type of clothes. You know, very often you'll have people come forward from Victorian times or Edwardian times and wear suits and all that kind of thing. You know, but yeah, whatever their attire is usually from their time.
Yeah, that is interesting there. Wow. Wow. Okay, let's go back to your spirit guides. The little boy, how did you figure out that was your spirit guide?
Strangely enough, what had happened was one evening I thought they actually belonged to somebody else. That's what I initially thought when they were coming round. You know, I thought it was just a little boy, because very often little children come to, you know, certain things we can do within development. I remember a little boy coming forward and explaining to my son, and it was lovely because I remember him coming and blending with my energy and speaking through me to my son, because my son was fearful of the job that I was doing because he didn't understand that his father and I was working with ghosts. So the little boy come forward and explained, obviously introduced himself as my name's Charlie and Chuckles, and obviously I was told the spirit I got hit by a horse from this period, and he spoke away, and Connor really had an attraction to him, you know, sort of, he was attracted to his energy, and it was lovely. And that was probably one of the reasons then I suppose I started to realise that maybe this little boy was more, and he kept coming more and more and more roundabout and doing things. And then of course one day he blended when we were doing a seance, and he explained that he was there to work and to help bring the energy for my mediumship, to help create energy, and that was his job for my mediumship, and him to work with me.
Well, and did he share with you how long did you ask him that, like how long have you been with me?
How long has he?
Yeah, how long has he been with you?
Oh, with me, I think he's been with me for a very long time, to be honest with you. Probably a lot longer than I realised.
And so how many do you have? Do you have more than one spirit?
I have about 12 that I'm very much aware of, you know, or that I see on a regular basis that the guys come and work with me, you know. But I have, because we developed as trance mediumship, what we actually do is we develop to allow anybody from spirit side of life who comes through the light to come and work for us. So although there's maybe about 12 that I am aware of, or I've seen on a regular basis over the period, over years and years and years, my job as a medium is to open up to the energy so the right person comes forward at the right time for the work that's needed.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So, but your spirit guides, I mean, they can come through you. You can allow. Do they ever do that? I don't want to assume that, but do they come through you?
Do it from time to time, to be very truthful with you. You know, especially when I'm working, when we're doing healings and stuff. There's lots of the guys that come forward. You know, and there's lots of they do different things. I mean, it's lovely the energy that they bring and certain things. And when we're doing obviously seances and stuff, the physical or whatever, or even trying to come through and speak, you know, they can certainly do these things. You know, but it's just lovely to be part of it, to know that they're around about you, to give you that comfort.
How do you know which one to say you're going to do a seance for someone? I mean, how do you know which spirit guide to contact to come talk or whatever?
I have no control over it at all. to be very truthful with you. I have a main control, which I call as Henry, which is actually known as Harry Edwards, who was a prolific healer last century. But Henry, and just to show you understand, Henry has a wonderful energy, which is absolutely beautiful, and he's an energy worker. But I also have another guy called Jack, who also, Henry and Jack's energy are very, very similar. I don't know the difference between them, to be very truthful with you, because it's so similar, But then what will happen is, just before that very last pivotal moment that I'm going to just blend in with them, is Henry will say to me, "Hello, Christopher." So I know it's Henry, and Jack will say, "Hello, Chris."
And this is a voice is it outside yourself or is it in your head?
I hear it in my own head.
Wow.
Yeah, I hear it. So that's how I know the difference between they two.
Is he Scottish? Is he Scottish or is he another nationality? Or
No. So they're both English.
They're English, okay.
They're both English, yeah, indeed, yeah. But we have another gentleman who comes forward. He does. He's called Kao Chu. Obviously, he's Chinese, but he comes forward and does acupuncture and all that kind of thing. Absolutely wonderful. I mean, to see him actually do the work, it's absolutely astounding. He has a little box with him.
Wait, okay. So what do you mean he comes? So he does acupuncture through you?
He does acupuncture. So what happens is when they come and blend through me, what happens is, because it's spirit. So what happens is we make especially when I'm doing healing, is I do my spirit connection, spirit of the person is getting the healing, and then we connect them to the spirit world. But what happens is, like, culture will come and blend into my energy, and then what happens, he'll work on the spirit of the person that's having obviously the healing, because the person who has a problem in the physical body also carries it within the spiritual body, because they're one of the same, you see. So the culture will come forward. What happens is, you maybe go to do an acupuncture, so what do is he'll bring in a little box, which means it's an antique box. It looks like it's hundreds of years old, and he'll gently open the box, and he has all different needles, and they're all different lengths, and they all have compartments within this thing, and then he'll gently put them into the spirit body. So I mean, absolutely stunning to watch. So that's just one guy that comes forward and does things. But he's Oriental, and I also have, my gatekeeper is Native American Indian, or he likes to say a tribal person. So there's lots of different guys that I've got to know over the years, and it's absolutely wonderful. Each person is individual within their own right, which is truly astounding. Which also means that those who are on the spirit side of life still retain their memories and certain things that pick from themselves.
Really interesting. You really are. I have a billion questions for you. Okay, let me ask you this, Chris. Okay, let's stay right there where you're talking about healing. Okay, so if someone comes to you and says, I don't know, they're suffering from whatever, give me an example of why a person would come to you, then I'll ask you some more questions.
Well, I would think, just for instance, if someone goes to a hospital, let's take cancer, for instance. I'm not saying I can cure cancer, because we're not allowed to, right? But someone goes and has a devastating, maybe information from the hospital to say there's no longer, they can do anything for them, obviously put your things in order. And then what happens is people will come and look, and that will bring them to start to search for alternative things. So they're now looking, or obviously to see if they can obviously rectify and get rid of this problem. That obviously maybe going to take them back home to the side of life. These people will start to look for an alternative therapist. Now, I cannot say that I can cure cancer, and I would not say that. To be very truthful, as a healer, I can't cure anything. But for some strange reason, there's an energy that comes from the spirit side of life that blends and works through me that has changed and can change certain things within people's physical body through the spiritual world. But that would be one of the reasons someone would come.
Okay, that's one of the reasons. Okay, and does that person have to believe in what you're doing, or can you take non-believers? I mean, would something like that work? Would healing work with you if they took a reading with you on someone that is a non-believer?
Healing works, to be honest with I'm a great believer that healing works for everybody. We often have people where we send distant healing to people. People get in contact, fill out a form, on the website, and we send the distant healing to them. But it doesn't matter what their background is, or their religion, or what they're forced upon, and they don't need to know, because what happens is we connect to those spirit side of life whose job it is to go and to administer the healing on behalf of the request that's been made. So when they go to speak to that person, they don't actually speak to the physical mind of the person, they speak to the spiritual mind of the person and ask that the healing has been requested further. Will you accept?
Clear the air with Kia.
I wanted to go electric, but I also wanted something built here, not shipped in. That's how I found the EV6, built in the state of Georgia and packed with more United States and Canadian parts than any other car sold here, whether an EV or not. Sleek design, over 300 miles of range, and yeah, the EV6, it's a Kia. Same goes for the EV9, big, bold, 3 rows, all electric, and assembled in the U.S.
If you're looking for American-built and electric, you don't have to choose. Just start with Kia. Movement that inspires.
Life offers its choices. When shopping for a luxury SUV, you should have the same benefit. The 2025 plug-in hybrid Grand Touring model. The Spirit of Choice continues with several available features to leave you reinvigorated, including perfect position massaging front seats, jet appearance package, panoramic vista roof, and more. With an impressive list of both standard and available features, the right choice becomes clear. Discover it for yourself by visiting your local Lincoln retailer. Lincoln, the power of sanctuary.
Famous Footwear has the latest styles from all my favorite brands like Nike, Adidas, Crocs, Converse, New Balance, Birkenstock, and more. So you don't have to overspend to make it famous. Right now, buy one pair of shoes, get one half off at your local Famous Footwear store. Some exclusions apply.
And then if spirit says we'll accept it, that's fine. So the physical mind wouldn't even know that the healing is taking place, but the spirit would be accepting it and the healing would be working.
Gotcha. Okay, you keep talking about the spirit, so their conscious mind would have no idea that that's happening.
No, because they go and speak to the higher consciousness.
Okay.
The spirit mind.
Yeah, I'm wanting to clarify something with you, or I just want to get your opinion on this. Our essence, our soul, it's. You talk about our higher self, but our soul is seated with us. Like my soul's with me right now, and then I have a higher self that's somewhere else. And this is where that healing would take place, right?
It takes place on the spirit body. If you're carrying some kind of thing we call stress or whatever's caused problems within your physical body, then you carry the same ailment or condition within the spiritual body. What happens is spirit goes and works on the spiritual body to see what they can do to change things, and in due course it has a knock-on effect which takes place into the physical body.
Because it almost sounds like you're describing it as our bodies are just avatars, and then there's this higher self that is really in control of what's happening to our physical body.
I suppose that's a wonderful way to look at it. But I suppose that's what whatever you carry in the physical, you also carry on the spiritual. So because we're working with the spirit world and the spirit energy, they go into the spiritual body and change things within it, and then it goes and knocks it back into it. That's a wonderful way to actually explain it. It's the avatar effect.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so let me ask you about, like you explained about the Chinese guide that comes in and does that acupuncture and things like that. If you're doing a healing like that with someone, do they have to be like in a certain position or in, with you in your presence, or can they be home? I mean, can this be done remotely? Tell me about how that needs to be done.
It gets done always, to be very true for you. I mean, I have obviously, clinics where lots of people come, obviously, for healing. So we do a one-to-one, which is, obviously in the presence of the people being there. But also what happens is I do lots of things online, and there's no different. There's no different energy. There's no difference in the vibration, what takes place. And very often we do, lots of certain things that we do with obviously on behalf of the spirit world, online healing. But people feel things taking place. They can feel, certain things being moved within the physical body. They're aware of things. They're aware of colour. There's a connection being made. There's no distance within the connection of the vibration. So there's no difference, to do an online healing than to do a healing which is in, obviously one of the clinics that I hold, various locations around the world. But it's just that sometimes people can't get to that clinic, or they can't get to come and see you. So the internet opens up that world so people that can't travel, so that you can still receive a healing, But all aspects of healing is wonderful. It's just about giving yourself over to it, connecting. As long as you connect into the spirit of that person, connecting to the right people that's working through and with you, certainly remarkable things can take place. But like I say, I don't promise anybody that I can cure anything. I just open up to the energy of the spirit world and see what the spirit world can do to see what they can change for the structure of that physical body through the spiritual body.
Yeah, that's amazing. It truly is amazing. I'm going to ask you a question here after I tell you this. I've actually had a remote healing from, she's wonderful. She's so wonderful, and I really love her. Her name's Janice Carroll. She's been on my show, and I asked her for some remote healing, but she wanted me to be asleep. She said it works better if you're asleep or resting. So I told her approximately when I go to bed, and I'm telling you, I felt hands on, like touching me everywhere. Like she was giving me almost it felt like a cat. A cat needs you, a cat kind of uses their paws to soften you up. I felt that everywhere. And I just could not believe it, but I felt so much better. I was having some shoulder issues, and it worked. And I do believe in remote healing. And I was going to ask you, like, people that you work with, do they ever tell you, hey, I saw this happening, or I felt this happening while the healing was taking place?
I have lots of, information like you're asking. People can touch quite a lot and say, obviously, I felt this taking place. It's not necessarily, they don't have to be sleeping for me, if you understand. When I do obviously a one-to-one online, very often, the people are not sleeping. They may fall asleep during the healing, but they're not sleeping. But, we can send remote healing or absent healing to people, at any time, and the spirit will connect when it's right for you, or when, so if you're sleeping, it's better for them to transfer that energy to you. That's when it'll take place. But yes, and one of the interesting things I thought was, I remember Henry saying to me years ago that, he would come very often, and it still does, and you say, listen, would you like to go and visit people to go and do healing? And that's the thing that Henry does. So I would go with Henry to people's homes, and very often I would see the people lying there. I'd see other spirit members of the team and other people around about the bed, but I would never see the naked body of the person. Okay, so you would just see the spiritual body of the person as the spirit will be working it, and we would get involved with it. And I remember Henry saying to me, he says, in years to come there'll be lots of people, he says, you'll do this on your own, and lots of people will, he says, obviously acknowledge that you have been there. And I remember thinking at the time, yeah, okay, whatever, And then I started to get certain things which people would get in touch with me and say to me, I was aware, that you were, obviously, I was seeing you in my room last night, maybe 10 o'clock at night. And then I would get someone else say to me, I got another email and saying, I was aware that you were in my house last night, 10 o'clock. And I was aware that you were in my house at 10 o'clock. So maybe in one thing, maybe get 4 or 5 different emails. These people had all seen an image or of myself, or whatever you want to call it, picture or whatever, a hologram, whatever it is. They'd all seen me at different times within their home. So yeah, it does. You do get lots of reports where people do see and do feel these things, And I'll tell you another quite an interesting wee story. I was working with a gentleman who was in hospital, and he was in an induced coma. And I remember giving the girl information regarding her father, what was taking place, within the spirit, what they were doing, and all these certain things, which all tied up, and some information